A mile in my shoes. What's that guy, Jim Cramer, is that his name?
Oh, yeah, let loose. Feel free.
Piece of He needs to bring his fat ass to Lansing and get in one of these plants over here and see how it feels. You know, it's those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, right? And I feel like people who don't do what we do don't know how it is.
And that is Floyd, a striking United Auto worker in Michigan, ripping CNBC's Jim Cramer and doing it on Status Quo News in colorful fashion. UAW workers, including Floyd, are demanding higher wages, cost of living adjustments, and compensation for workers whose factories are being shut down because of the transition to electric vehicles. CNBC's Cramer recently criticized the UAW and compared UAW President Shawn Fain to Soviet revolutionary Leon Trotsky.
Shawn Fain, the guy who runs the UAW, I find him frightening. This man studied Trotsky. I gotta tell you, studied Trotsky before pre-ice picking era. I think there's a nuclear option on the table if he's not careful. And that nuclear option is a country called Mexico. Say, listen, you wanna know where the new ones are gonna be made? We're gonna continue to make the old ones. But Puebla's got a 55,000 person factory for VW. And they got a good educational workforce. It's $5 an hour. No real pollution control rules. That's not to be mentioned. Have free health care. So you know what? You want to play ball? You want to keep doing this? Mexico.
Glad to see you're standing up for the American worker here, Jim. Thanks for that.
That was CNBC's David Faber being sarcastic, of course, there at the end. Still, Jim Cramer is serious. He believes the way the big three U.S. automakers can break the UAW and end the strike is to start shipping many of the UAW jobs to Mexico. The nuclear option, as Cramer calls it. Well, that Cramer-endorsed strategy is controversial, to say the least. And Floyd said such a move would be so disgusting to countless American consumers that the big three would pay a huge price in public relations and see a sharp drop in American sales.
See how many people buy GM cars. See how many people buy big three cars, period. You know, if they want to shut down and go someplace else like that, that's fine. Go ahead, do it. But I've owned GM cars my whole life. They do that, I will never buy a GM car again.
In September, the UAW began targeted work stoppages at plants across the United States. The stand-up strike, as the union is calling it, is modeled on strikes in the 1930s, when General Motors workers occupied plants to protest inequality. The UAW was selectively picketing production sites and keeping the big three automakers uncertain of the union's next steps. About 25,000 UAW members are currently on strike, and even though it is not a full-blown automotive worker walkout, a leading analysis firm called Anderson Economic Group says that the strike has already led to significant losses. AEG says the big three U.S. automakers have now lost more than $4 billion. And never mind the financial drag on the big three, there's also now a squeeze on dealers and their consumers. The strike has shut down 38 parts distribution centers, and that has begun to impact dealership service operations. Several Ford and GM dealerships are now reporting that when consumers come in to get their American-made car repaired or need a new part, the work cannot be done because there are no parts coming in from the distribution centers. And the longer negotiations keep stalling, the more United Auto workers are expected to join the strike. The big three executives may not like it, CNBC's Jim Cramer may not like it, but the tensions now are nothing compared to what might happen if the big three go with the nuclear option, as Cramer calls it, and take the jobs to Mexico. That would be very, very bad for the American worker and extremely bad for the United States. By the way, a Republican congressman from New York recently got annihilated over a viral remark he made in a television interview.
Congressman, will you take pay if the government shuts down?
I'm honestly not sure how that works.
And that is Republican Brandon Williams of New York.
Well, you still get money. The members of Congress get paid. The Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said so on the floor yesterday. So will you accept that pay?
I will.
Check out that video in the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.